Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the Worry-Free Retirement with best-selling author and fiduciary Tony Walker.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. And it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.
Are you a risk taker? Maybe you're not even sure how to define risk. Well, how about picturing this visual of someone risking their life by walking on a 1-inch wide cable, a tightrope? That's right. Sounds pretty risky to me. Well, what about joining up with this well-known group of death-defying performers known as Cirque du Soleil? Would you be willing to try to do what they do each and every night, performing death-defying acts for audiences around the world? Speaking of Cirque du Soleil, by the way, I've had the opportunity to watch these acts on 7 different occasions, and believe me, these folks are some of the best performers I've ever seen. Now, until I read a book authored by a gentleman by the name of John Bacon called The Spark, I assumed that all of these performers were risk takers. But upon closer examination, these performers and all of the engineers that plan out their show are not risk takers at all. In fact, according to Mr. Bacon's findings, the key to the success of the Cirque show is not blindly taking risks, but taking on the mentality of safety first, something savers should take note of, which is the talking points of today's show. And welcome to the show. Of course, this is the Worry-Free Retirement, and I am that little man in the sweater vest, safe money specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And today, before you start walking out on that financial tightrope and risking your retirement, I'm going to reveal the keys to using and enjoying your money without taking a bunch of unnecessary risk. But first, as always, let me introduce the producer of today's show, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Non-Risk Taker, Aaron Orander. Did I describe you right as non-risk taker? Or are you a risk taker?
I guess that'd be a good way to describe me. Maybe 20 years ago, but not now.
Yeah. You know what, though? If I could put a tightrope between our building here in Shelbyville over to Oxmoor Mall, that's only about 20 feet high. Would you be willing to try to walk across it?
Nope.
For $1,000?
1,000?
1,000.
2,000.
2,000. You got it.
2,000.
All right, we'll work on getting that done. We'll have a drone fly over.
Oh, yeah, let's get the drone in here. Sure.
Yeah, we could do like a reality check. Every 5 minutes, we check back in, and you're like 3 feet farther across there, and then have the clock
Just don't tell Jessica I said that, okay?
$2,000. A man will walk a tightrope. And also with us in the studio, we won't name any names yet, but we've got a new hire that's coming on, and he's just kind of checking out the area here. So we have got to say goodbye to Miss Megan Murphy, who has been with us for well over a year, right, Megan?
That's
Aaron?
right. That's right.
And she has moved on to greener pastures. She's not going to go try to walk tightropes, is she? What did
I
she
don't
say
think.
she was
I don't
doing?
think so.
Okay.
I don't know if she's a risk taker or not. I don't know.
I don't picture Megan as trying something like that, but we're going to miss her dearly. But the show must go on as we're talking about shows and the Worry-Free Retirement. As we're working, I'm going to leave Aaron alone a little bit during this show. Generally, our schedule is, while Aaron is bantering back and forth with nonsensical advice coming from his end, generally Megan is working on the show prep for the TV show, which immediately follows the Worry-Free Retirement. In case you haven't seen the TV show, folks, you can watch it we're on 7 different stations throughout the state of Kentucky, as well as our YouTube channel, Tony Walker Financial. It's some pretty cool stuff with some great visuals, graphics, etc. So, Aaron, we appreciate you taking on wearing 2 hats here.
That's
so
right.
You maybe be a good juggler because you're juggling a lot today. We'll take you off the tightrope and hand you some bowling pins. But folks, the Worry-Free Retirement is all about, kind of like those Cirque du Soleil folks. We want to perform at our utmost. We want to provide strategies that help you feel like you're a success in retirement. But first and foremost, this is about safety first. We're not out here blindly risking our money. Remember, this show is the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money. And our first goal is to make sure that your money is safe and secure. But, at first it starts off with the 5 P's. We talked about this last week, and one of those P's is the notion of process. Unfortunately, one of the P's, the letter P that the financial world wants to talk about, is products all the time. All they want to talk about is products. Where do you invest your money? How much money should you be trying to invest? How much money should you try to save? And all that's important. That's one of the P's, but the process of safeguarding your money, kind of visualize, Aaron, if you're walking on a tightrope with your money, you would hopefully want a safety net underneath you, wouldn't you, if you fell?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I think that would be prudent. Well, that's kind of what we're talking about today, folks. How do you put a safety net under that 401k plan so that you can confidently retire and use and enjoy that plan? So when I come back, I'm going to go back and do a little history lesson. This is kind of interesting. We're going to go back and talk about a real risky period of time in this nation's country. And I'm going to play a little pop quiz on you. I bet you nobody's going to get this one right. So we're going to have some fun when we come back. And remember, it's safety first, risk second. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today.
Worried about running out of money in retirement? Then download Mailbox Money for Life from best-selling author and retirement planning specialist Tony Walker. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. As we record today's show on July 7th, 2020, the stock market has really come roaring back from the decimating government shutdown of our economy as a result of the flu, otherwise known as the COVID-19. Now, this recent 30% basically overnight drop of the stock market reminds us that risk is real, and especially if you are retired or retiring soon, and assuming you're not willing or don't have the heart to take a bunch of risk anymore with your money at this stage of the game, the balancing act that you've got to perform between risking your money and also trying to keep it safe must be carefully considered. Okay, now I want to go back. Aaron, I think you heard this statistic, so you can't guess. I'm going to kind of quiz the audience here a little bit. We're going to go all the way back to the Roaring 20s. One reason they call them the Roaring 20s is they roared right up to a big crash of 1929. That's when the stock market plummeted. And actually, people don't realize this. The market, did you know this, Aaron? It didn't recover until 1932.
Wow.
It was almost 4 years of decimation. So here we go, folks. And I know a lot of folks ride around in the car listening to the radio, so be careful. Don't grab a pen and paper while you're trying to write this down. But between that period of time, 1929 to 1932, let's say you had $100,000. I'll do the math for you if you're not good at math, but $100,000 right before the crash of 1929. By 1932, assuming you had all that money in the Dow, the stock market, what do you think you would have left? Obviously, we're talking about losses here and risk. I wouldn't be saying have left. 100,000, 1929. Aaron, can you play that Jeopardy music or whatever it is where you wait? We'll play that for just a second, a couple seconds, let you think. Again, 1929, you had $100,000. 1932, you wake up out of bed, you go over and read the paper, you see the stock quotes or whatever. All right, here's the guess. If you guessed $10,000, you were correct. In other words, people during that period of time lost 90%. 90%. I'm trying to make sure I pronounce that correctly because it's hard to believe that. Imagine you had $100,000. Just over 3 years later, you got $10,000. It reminds me, here it is. I wanted to try to look at this. It says, according to the experts back then,
who, by the way, Aaron, they didn't see this crash coming. I love the experts who tell you what happened. Isn't that great? It's like we're looking in the rearview mirror. Well, thanks a lot. I had a crash, and I wish you'd told me there was a tire up in the middle of the road. Had a gentleman come over yesterday. Aaron was running late. I kid you not, he and his wife. He called in. I was waiting for his appointment, and Gina comes running. She goes, hey, I'll call them the Johnsons. The Johnsons are running a little late. They just had a 2x4 go through their windshield. I kid you not. They're riding down the road, and he said, he came in later. He said, I saw it coming. It flew off of the ground. It hit something. He said, I couldn't move. It went right through his windshield. So, again, didn't see that coming. Neither did the experts see the crash at 29 coming. But people would say, and maybe rightfully so, well, that's not going to happen again, is it, Tony? You couldn't have, 3 consecutive years of losses. Well, maybe not that bad, but as we fast forward, a lot of people forget this, Aaron, that in 2000 through 2002, let me read this off to you, folks. A lot of people don't remember this. The S&P 500, in 2000 went down 9%. 2001 went down almost 12%, and 2002, 22%. That's a lot of money. So you say, well, what's that translate to? Well, if you had to take money out of that account when you were retired, let me kind of give you an idea of how this is really playing out. So let's say 2000. So let's say 1999. Let's say you were fortunate enough and you had $300,000 in a 401k plan. Okay, we're at 1999. You're investing the money. 1999 was a good year, Aaron. It went up 21%. Would you take 21% return?
Yeah.
I'd take that all day long.
Yeah.
So that means, assuming you even needed 20, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll imagine you took 20,000 out. So you're retired. You need $20,000 a year of income. Well, the thing goes up 21%. You still have, even after taking out $20,000, $338,000. So I would say that's a success. You took some risk. You're on the high wire, but you haven't fallen off. I mean, everything's going great. The crowd's cheering. Your advisor's on the ground safely sitting there going, hang in there, keep walking, you're doing fine. And then 2000 rolls along, and all of a sudden we have a 9% drop, but you still need $20,000. You still need to live, right, Aaron? You don't just stop taking money because it's okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, all of a sudden it drops down a little bit. After you take out $20,000, that $338,000 now quickly goes down to around $290,000. But you say, well, yeah, but Tony, I still got $290,000. Well, keep in mind, let's say you're only 66 years of age. Remember, what I'm getting ready to share with you, this stuff's got to last for maybe 20, 30, 40 years. Who knows? So this is just a 4-year window we're going to take a look at here. All right, let's go to the next year, 2001. I know we remember that, 9/11. The market went down about 12%, but you still need to live, right? You still need to buy groceries and get gas up the car and, run around. So you got to take some money out. So you take your $20,000 out. Now all of a sudden your $289,000 goes down to about $237,000. Now again, you've only been retired 3 years. Let's say you're 67, 68 years of age. It doesn't matter, but you're going, whoa, wait a minute now. This isn't looking too good. Surely, right? Surely the market will come back. Everybody's telling you to hang in there. Don't worry about it. It's not their money, of course. It's easy to say. Have you ever gotten hurt before, Aaron, playing football or something, and somebody says, shake it off, you're fine?
That's right. Are you hurt? Are you hurt or are you injured?
Yeah. How do they know how I'm feeling? And I love that when coaches used to say, shake it off. I'm like, looking back, I was in junior high. I was a pretty good football player. I never will forget. I tried to tackle a guy, and I felt my shoulder felt funny. Well, I go over to the sideline, and the coach says, well, let me see what's going on. He rips off my shirt, literally, and my clavicle, that's the collarbone, Aaron. You probably don't know what a clavicle is, do you? Did you know what a clavicle was? I didn't know that.
I knew it was up here.
Yeah, I heard somebody say, I think he broke his clavicle. I thought, oh, my gosh, I didn't know what that even meant. That really scared me. But yeah, I had a broken clavicle. He was getting ready to just toss me right back in the game until he saw my clavicle sticking out, which that sounds rather too graphic, I guess. Sorry about that, folks. But that's the point. It's easy for somebody else to say you should hang in there when it's not their money. It's not their clavicle, right? Okay, now let's go one more year because the damage is still bleeding pretty bad here, folks. 2002. All right, let's move to 2002. And the market drops 22%. Remember the prior year, you had $237,000. You need your $20,000. You're probably thinking about going on the cow can diet at this point. And your balance of your 401k, again, this is just after 4 years. This really happened, folks. These are not made up numbers. This is what would have happened had you done this in 2000 through 2002, is now at a whopping $169,000. Do you think Jessica's going to be very happy with you, Aaron?
Yeah.
After your investment performance here? I'd say you've already fallen off the high wire, partner. It's no more juggling or anything for you. Now, so how do we have this balancing act? Because there are people that are okay with some risk. We have a lot of Sabre clients since opening up our Charles Schwab platform back in April 2017. We've been able to, thankfully, accumulate about 1,200 clients' accounts. We have over 1,200 accounts with Schwab, which some of that money's in the stock market, some of it's in government bonds and bank instruments, and we've got right at $100 million under management. So we are not adversaries of the stock market. We just believe savers need to be very careful and balance the amount of money going into the stock market. And that's why we created something called the split IRA concept. And the split IRA concept kind of allows you to have your cake and eat it too. What we do in this process is we sit down with you, look at your 401k, other investments, maybe you've just got an inheritance. And what we're trying to do is help you determine your level of risk. What is it you can stomach? Forget about what I might want or what Aaron wants or what the guy on TV or radio says you should want. What is it you want? Okay, you're the one that if you put too much money in the market and that thing tanks, you're the one that's going to have to deal with it. So you have to envision yourself in the market, envision it going down. I love that quote by John Bogle, famed John Bogle. Man, he was a great one. He said that if you can't fathom the thought of waking up and just losing 20% of your money in the stock market, you shouldn't be in the stock market. And I agree with that. So the answer to that is you got to have, if you want to, a percentage in the market, but you have to have a fiduciary such as what we do, sit down and go over that. So I'm going to kind of close out this segment. We got one more segment. I'm going to close out this segment with an interesting concept and a perception of what the Cirque du Soleil performers shared with Mr. Bacon in his book, The Spark. Mr. Bacon noted, the secret behind the success of these death-defying group of performers called Cirque du Soleil included this. First of all, they said, if you're going to take risk, take the risk you know you must. You know, there are times you got to take a little bit of risk, folks, but take the risk that you must. Don't be just blindly taking risk because somebody says you got to take risk. I'll give you an example. I think something's pretty risky here, and if you ask me, for over 20 years, guess what I've been doing driving up and down the roads? Where do I head back and forth to?
You go back and forth from Louisville to Bowling Green.
And you think I-65 is a real safe place to do business?
Yeah.
Golly, it's crazy. So, but I've got to do that. So I would rather not take the risk of driving around, maniacs driving all over the place and semis cutting in and out, but that's part of the job. So I take the risk I have to take. So that's very reasonable. Number two, I love this. Collaborate with others who know what they're doing, and here's the key, and want you to succeed. It's one thing for people to put their money with me, and hopefully I can become a success in this business and help employees and everybody else. But folks, if the advisor doesn't really care about your success, you need to go find another advisor. So you need to collaborate with people that want to see you be successful, not just them, okay? And then the third rule of thumb with these folks at the Cirque that I thought was very, very interesting, and boy, this is a biggie, whether it's, a guy's going to get up on a tight wire and a tight rope and hopefully somebody's installed that thing correctly and has the proper netting and everything in place. Well, the same thing is true with your finances, folks. You better make sure that you trust other people because eventually, whether it's walking on a tightrope or, getting ready to hand your money over to somebody, you've got to trust who you're working with. All right, when we come back, we've got an interesting Tony in the trenches dealing with 401k plans. So exactly, Tony, what type of 401k plan could I move, you might be asking yourself, over to your process in this split IRA concept? So when I come back, there's a good chance if you're listening to this show, there's an opportunity for us to work together and balance out the act of safeguarding your money and taking the amount of risk that you're comfortable taking. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Well, our employee spotlight today is none other than our own Jennifer Jaggers, and I want to welcome Jennifer to the program.
Thank you, Tony. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I know you and Heather made the trip from Bowling Green to our Louisville studios today. What's it like driving down here knowing this is what I do once a week, is driving the roads of I-65? How was the drive, by the way?
I admire you for that. As a road rage kind of girl, better you than me.
Well, we are excited to have you. And again, we just wanted you to share briefly. First of all, I like to call you JJ. That's your new nickname. But first of all, about your background in banking. You came to us recently, and we're so fortunate to have you. But tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Okay. I actually started off pretty much my career in banking. I've always been on the loan side of banking, so I was a loan processor for a long time. I enjoyed that. I thought now since being here, I really enjoy the research aspect of this job. Totally did not know anything about this financial world. So I have enjoyed thoroughly learning the other side of finances, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. And you've done such a wonderful job. Of course, we've had some changes at Tony Walker Financial. We're growing like crazy. But you started out servicing our annuity business and client services, and you're still doing some of that. But talk about your role in terms of administering and getting all the new annuity business issued, and how detailed that is, and how much business we're doing now to help these savers.
After you bring the file back to me, I get all of the client's personal information. I put that into whichever insurance agency that we are using for that annuity that they have chosen. I submit that information. I make sure all of their suitability, which is their financial information, is correct and accurate, so that those annuities will be submitted. And when we get that annuity finalized back in the office, I put together a neat little binder for you to deliver to them at their final appointment.
And I guess sometimes I probably need to have you more in meetings. You don't get to see this, but the way we organize everything and the way we present everything, what would you speak to that? I mean, just the involved, detailed process of getting the annuities, putting them in the binders. We have the last day planners. Can you speak to that a little bit, and how good you feel that, hey, we've got the mission accomplished, here's your annuity, here's how we work at Tony Walker Financial?
Those binders are amazing to me. It takes everything that they have, everything that they've purchased, it puts that in a nice little graph for them. You have their actual paper copies of their annuities placed into that binder. So everything's very organized for that if they need that in the future while you're sitting there with them going over that.
And then they know, too, they've got you. Now we got Mandy in the office, but they've got you to follow back up with service questions regarding those annuities.
Right. And anything as far as change of addresses, change of beneficiaries, anything that you need to change on that current annuity contract, we can get that taken care of.
Well, JJ, we appreciate your work so much. We're so happy to have you at Tony Walker Financial, and look forward to writing many more annuities and helping all these savers.
Thank you, Tony. Happy to be here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. Our Tony in the Trenches question comes from Sarah out of Bowling Green, who asked, Tony, I have a 401k that I'd like to move over to safer territory, but I'm still working at my employer. Is there any way I can move that over to your process, or do I have to wait until I retire? The answer, drum roll there, Aaron. It all depends. Sorry about that, Sarah. So let's take a look at your options, though, because this is a great question. Some people do think that they cannot ever move that 401k out of their current 401k. In other words, that's called a rollover, where you roll it over to an individual advisor such as Tony Walker Financial. They think they can't do it until they retire, and nothing could be further from the truth. So assuming you have a 401k plan, listen closely, here are the options for you right now to consider getting that balancing act together and working with a fiduciary like Tony Walker Financial. Number one, obviously, people who are already retired that had the previous 401k that's still at their former employer. Some people have it there. We can easily roll that over at no cost or any upfront taxes or anything. There's no cost to do any of this, folks. That's the beauty of it. And then you have a full-time fiduciary working for you. So we can roll it over, or you might have already retired, roll it over to somebody else that you're just not happy with. You're just not getting good service. Maybe you feel like you've been sold a bill of goods. It doesn't matter. We can handle that and then roll that IRA over to our process as well. Number 2, let's see, we got the second one. People who have retired, who have moved their 401k to an individual IRA, and maybe you're just out there going it alone. I see this a lot. There's no written game plan. Sometimes what's interesting, people will take their 401k with their existing person or entity that's managing it. They leave it with that entity. Let's say they're with Mutual Nairobi. They keep it with Mutual Nairobi, but they move it to an IRA, and then Mutual Nairobi charges them fees. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're going to have somebody charge fees, let us charge the fee, and we'll provide all the retirement planning expertise at no additional cost. Let's see, number 3 would be people who are getting ready to retire in a couple of years. And they're saying, you know what, I want to go in and get my game plan in place now. I want to look at everything. I want to meet with you, Tony. I don't want to wait till I retire, then try to fumble and bumble. And I just want to make sure this is going to work. So certainly we could roll over the 401k now, even if you're still working. And here's the next little bit. If you're over the age of 59 and a half, we can do this. Now, if you're under 59 and a half, still working, the 401k at your current employer, unfortunately, cannot be rolled over. You would have to terminate employment. Now, if you've been laid off, obviously, or terminated employment or switched jobs, we can roll it over. But there's a little no secret, so let me repeat that. You're still working at the same employer, you have a 401k, and you are over the age of 59 and a half, yes, we can roll that 401k over to our process. And here's the kicker. The good news is, if you want to keep contributing to the 401k, let's say you get a nice company match and you don't want to lose that match, then you can continue to contribute, keep the match, and then the beauty of this is then the brunt of your 401k now is in the balancing act of safety with some risk if you want to take a little risk. And then, of course, we can add that beloved mailbox money that the 401k does not have. So the mailbox money, the beauty of that is, obviously, as you get older and you want to turn on that mailbox money, we're going to start sending you a paycheck for the rest of your life, guaranteed, something the 401k cannot offer. There's another, let's see, one more here. Yeah, finally, if someone has a previous 401k at a previous employer, let's take the example, let's say you're 45, and had a gentleman come in yesterday, Aaron, he was in his early 50s, he did this. He had left his former employer, moved to a new employer, but the old 401k is sitting back there at the old employer. That makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, couldn't you see why somebody would do that, Aaron?
Yeah.
He's working hard over there. I've just seen him. He's awake, folks. Whenever you hear, Aaron, are you going to walk on the tightrope for $200? Say, yeah.
200?
Yeah.
No, 2,000. I'm paying attention.
He's still listing. He's actually listing closer than I thought. I thought I could get him back down to 200. So basically, folks, yes, we can go get that former 401k at your former employer and roll that over to our split IRA concept. So here's what I would suggest doing. If you're retiring soon, over the age of 59 and a half, or maybe you're that person that has switched jobs recently or whatever's going on in your life, but you've got this old 401k sitting over there somewhere at the last employer, why in the world would you not consider us handling it at Tony Walker Financial? To meet with us, we've got a cool thing on the website where my favorite son-in-law and fellow fiduciary Trey, what you can do is you can go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on the Let's Get Started. So when you click on the Let's Get Started, you can either set up an appointment and go ahead and talk with me by phone or meet with me in person at either our Bowling Green, Lexington, or Louisville offices, or you can set up a quick 10-minute call with Trey. And the purpose of that call, that appointment, is really just to kind of find out what it is you're looking for, how can we help, just to make sure that we have something that you might be in store for and that you want to take the time for us to explore. So do it now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or feel free to give us a call at 877-499-9255, 877-499-9255. And don't forget, while you're on the website, download my latest copy of the book, 401k Rollovers Made Easy. It's absolutely free, and it'll show you the ins and outs and how we can roll that 401k over to safer territory. Well, that's all the time we have for the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll see you next week, but you remember, between now and then, you remember to be worry-free.
If you need it, you don't got it, you don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.